Good morning, everyone. So far, we've shown you 4 different types of ways to safeguard the flow itself from fraud. This is fraud control in the flow. But the key element of all 4 is the flow is completely in your control. You are actually initiating it via legality. You are the legality controller. There is another scenario where you may not be the controller. Anja, if you can go to the next slide, right? So there are 2 scenarios here, right? One are, let's say there's in your business flow, another party is getting it signed through their own legality account or through their own way of digitally signing it. And they're sending you the final document, which you then need to store, right? This is very common. For example, with the LODR guidelines by SEBI, where stock exchanges collect digitally signed documents from other parties, right? How do you ensure that this process that they've done, that is out of your control, that they've done on their own, has been done properly, right? And the second is, let's say the document is done in your flow, you entered the fraud control that this has been solved for. But there's a third party, like a regulator or an internal auditor or a third party auditor, who wants to show that, okay, you claim that you had all these fraud prevention features. Now, show me for these 1,000 documents that you signed that you've actually done this. Show me that these are fraud proof, right? How do you actually at scale attest to the sanctity of your flows? So how do you solve for these 2, you can say, post-signing scenarios? One where you don't know how it's been signed, right? And 2, where you've signed it, but you need to show someone else, look, I have done it properly. How do you solve these 2 things? I'll hand it over to Rachna, who was pivotal in developing a feature we built to solve this.
Hey, we have developed digital signature verifier, and I, as a product manager, I'm excited to share that what all it has. For example, you have n number of documents with you, which might be the invoices, or which might be the AOA or MOAs, or the documents that have been signed out of your control, like Aditya rightly explained. Now, how do you make sure that the signer was the correct person or not? How do you make sure that the signature certificate of the signer is not expired? How do you make sure that issuer of that signature certificate is the right authority? You can do it for 1 or 2 documents manually, maybe, or you can use tools like this that we have. This is a tool which is accessible to anyone, and you can use it free of cost. So I'll just show you by uploading a PDF. So I've uploaded a PDF which is digitally signed, and I want to check whether or not it has valid signatures and whether or not it has been tampered with after it was signed. So I'll initiate the verification process, and there is a CAPTCHA that I have to go through so that this website is not attacked by robots, or any bulk PDFs are not uploaded over here. So as you see, I can see the result that all signatures are valid over here and one valid signature is found. So this front end has been making call to the backend APIs, wherein all the checks were performed, which I just spoke about. Now let's take a look at the details that the API has given, that who's the person who has signed this document. So this API returns that the document has been signed by Jitendra Singh, and his PIN code, year of birth, gender, the last 4 digits of Aadhaar, state, issuer of the signature certificate, and the sign time, and the validity start and end date. All of these details are found in the signature certificate of the signer, which you are able to see. And you can be rest assured that the signature certificate was valid, it was not expired. And you can be also rest assured that the issuer is a valid issuer, because the API in the backend performs chain validation checks as well, which means we try to first understand if the ESP is a valid ESP, then the root certificates are also checked further. Now, this is the front end, but if you have n number of PTFs, hundreds or thousands of them, you can definitely use the API product, wherein I'll just show you, this is the API and I'm trying to log in into the API. Now I'll just try to upload the same PDF. However, you can upload n number of PDFs here. This is one.pdf. It's the same PDF which I had uploaded here, just to show you the results and how they are different over here. Now, what additional feature API offers you is that You can also cross verify. For example, you were looking forward to the signatures of Abhijit in the document. You were expecting someone named Abhijit to sign the document, and you knew that his gender is male, his year of birth is this, his last four digits of Aadhaar are this, a postal code is this, and the state is Rajasthan. Now, because you were expecting this person to sign and you don't know who has signed the document, you can definitely pass the signer details over here and also request the API to give you a verification report. So once I do this, I have got a result which says indicative response and this is false, which means that the certificate found in the document is not that of Abhijit. If you see it, it returns the certificate details of the signer, and it also gives the details as the name is not a match, so it's returning false. The gender is a match, so it's returning true. Year of birth is not a match, so it's false. And title is also not a match, so it's false. Postal code and state, of course, are false because the signer who has signed the document, actually his state is Uttarakhand and the state here passed was Rajasthan. So basically the feature allows you to verify n number of PDFs for the use case where you are trying to understand if the right person or the person who was authorized signatory according to you has signed the document or not. It is possible to check manually for one or two PDFs, but for the bulk use cases, it's not possible. And this API has returned a verification report as well. So I'll just show you what is in there in the verification report. This returns the document ID, the document hash, total number of certificates found. We have found one valid certificate. The API runs for n number of signatures. Even if you feed the API with hundreds of documents and each document has some 10 or 12 signatures, you will see that verification report will return the certificate details of all the signers found. So if you see the signature is valid, the details of the signer are here. There is this timestamp that we try to fetch. Then we fetch the issuer name and the issuer organization, validity start and validity end date, and the verification response. This is the matching that we had done against a name, state, pin code, gender, and YOB. And whatever is matched is green, and whatever did not match is red in color. This is about the API product. And to know more details about it, there is this API documentation which is hosted on docs.legality.com/verifier. We'll put the link in the email that will be rolled out after the webinar, and anyone can go through the documentation and try to understand how it works. It's a standalone API product which can be used for documents signed through Legality or outside Legality. And I would like now, I would like
if you can share. Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to walk you through the summary of the demo that you just saw. What we just did, we passed signer details that we need to check in Legality's Verifier API. If you recall that I passed name, YOB, gender, you can pass any one of the parameters as well. If you just want to verify the name, that's also fine. And then Legality searches for eSign certificates. Our API actually tries to extract the signatures out of the document, then finds out whether the certificate issuer is valid or not, and runs multiple checks. After all the checks are run, Legality matches the passed signer details with details available in the eSign certificate. And if the details matches, correct signer has signed the document, we return a green response. And if someone else has signed the document, then it was returning a cross symbol. So you also get a verification report that tells you which signer details are matched and which didn't match, like you saw. Anja, if you can just move to the next slide. Understanding the eSign verification report, I just walked you through it. We return the signer details, we return the reason of failure. We also run our crawlers on cca.gov.in to make sure that we are fetching the right expired and unexpired root certificates every week. The crawler runs every week. So we also know if the certificate is part of the revocation list or not. If it is, then we also return failure reasons like the certificate found in your document is part of the revocation list. Hence, the document is not safe for further use. Now, the matching results that I had showed you, these were the parts of the verification report, and the checks have been explained by me in bits and pieces while showing the demo as well. But just to summarize them here, we do document integrity checks, which means we make sure the document is not tampered with after signing. There is no way for you to check it manually for bulk use cases. And it's safe to say that Legality's Verifier product is a one of its kind of product, and nobody in the market is right now serving such a comprehensive solution, which allows you to do checks based on name, gender, YOB for bulk documents. Then second is eSign certificate validity check, wherein I told you that we make sure that the issuer is a valid issuer. Then eSign certificate chain validation check. The chain validation check means that whenever a document is fed by you, like I said, we are going to try to understand who's the ESP, who has issued ESP the certificate. And then further on, we also try to understand if NSDL is the issuer, who has issued them. If it's CCA, then we also try to understand if their certificate is, all the certificates are valid over there or not. Then timestamp token validation check, which tries to understand at the time of signing whether the certificate was valid or not. Then cross-checking the given signer details against data given by the user that we just did. So I think these are a few checks that we perform, and for further details, you can definitely refer to the API documentation.
Great. Thanks, Rachna. So I think two things you saw. One, there's a free tool. We'll be sharing the link of the free tool with you in the email. But that tool, obviously, at scale, if you have 1,000 documents you need to verify, doesn't work, for which there is an API, for which we'll share the API documentation.